Serious? What's the most disturbing thing you've overheard that you were never meant to hear? I was at a dance club in Mexico once. I was headed to the bathroom, but there were a ton of people crowding the entrance and they were quietly talking in a single conversation with each other. I do not speak Spanish. I figured it was just a line, so I queued up behind the group. Another local guy lined up behind me and after a few minutes tapped me on the shoulder. He and I had the following conversation. Him: do you speak Spanish? Lo siento, no. English: these guys are planning on killing someone and are worried that you're listening to them. You should leave right now. So that was pretty scary. I was traveling back home from a work trip last year, about an hour from boarding the plane. A woman on the seats behind me answered her phone and let out the saddest wail I've ever heard because the person on the other end told her that her son had died. It was extremely sad and weird to think that there were so many witnesses to probably one of the worst moments in her life. My father-in-law died after a routine hip replacement. His O2 levels plummeted and he suffered heart failure. While he was brain dead in the ICU, a physician came to do his rounds, with a group of residents, and they asked us to leave the room. So we sat in the waiting area, outside the elevators. The group came out, and while they were waiting for the elevator to arrive, the doctor said to his students, "And that is why you never give Haldol to a heart patient. And that is why my mother-in-law got a $150,000 settlement from the hospital. And that is why they have those little signs in hospital elevators reminding you not to discuss patients." I was in the due to kidney stones, overheard a man next door wailing because his father suffered from a heart attack during a baseball game they were at. We were at the ball game, just having a good time. We were just having a good time. For a brief moment I didn't feel pain in my kidney. My dad, probably drunk, telling me over the phone how he was gonna kill my mom's new boyfriend. He thought I was her. I was 10. My, mostly, absentee father was killed by a train when I was 11 the Saturday before Father's Day. The next day I overheard my grandmother, his mother, telling someone on the phone that deputies had walked on either side of the track collecting what was left in 2 body bags. A girl at my high school telling her friend about the time she caught her ex cheating on her with his 13-year-old sister. She called the cops on him. My mom was talking to a cousin late one night. She didn't know I was close enough to hear. I learned that night just how many men in my family were rapists and pedophiles. A buddy called me to cancel plans because he was sick. He put the phone down but didn't hang up. I heard him say, "Okay. Out of that, what are we going to do?" Heard another voice name a bar. So I went too. Update. So basically I made the night purposefully awkward. Now it's 20 years later and we are still buds. Look back on it and laugh. Probably my mom telling my dad I knew from the very beginning that me, wouldn't amount to anything. She probably said it out of anger and didn't mean it or whatever, but after all these years I can feel my heart sinking whenever I'm reminded of it. My mom would usually have her friend over most days and they would sit in the kitchen and talk for hours. Mom's friend was not so recently divorced and was always talking about guys she was seeing on the regular. The dining room table where they'd sit and talk was right under my bedroom and I'd always drown out their conversations with my stereo or TV. One day I was doing homework and could hear them talking. Mom's friend had a daughter who was around 16-17 and the friend was complaining that her daughter had massive breasts and she would get loads of attention and she hated that all the guys would look at her daughter and not her. The friend then admitted she had been crushing up all kinds of diet pills into her daughter's food to stop her boobs from growing and maybe shrink them. Heard upper management talking about who they banged in the office, strippers, and who was on their list to conquer. They forgot I worked on the other side of the wall until I walked around to ask them something. I pretended like I didn't hear anything, but their faces turned white while talking to me. I was gonna keep it to myself but I guess they got scared and I got let go not too long after that. My ex-grandma trying to talk my mom into keeping her first 2 kids and giving up us other 3 for adoption. My schizophrenic mother crying about the people in the walls murdering her ex-boyfriend by tearing him apart at 4 a.m. She hadn't talked to the dude since before I was born. I was already into horror, gore stuff as a teen, so it didn't traumatize me quite as much. When my parents' friends went to eat at our house I went to the bathroom. When I came back, they were talking about how proud they were of my little sister overcoming her school phobia and her depression like a chief. Right after this, they went on me saying they were disappointed in me, that I wasn't doing anything interesting, that I was a bit of a failure. They then talked about how I had gained weight recently. I was much aware of it but still I don't need other people to bring attention to it. I'm doing what my depressed binge eating ass can. It really broke something in me.